Okay guys, so this is the boot of my 525i, and well, I found a couple of objects here that actually don't belong in this car.
When I switched to pro mileage, in my case, I got 46-47% of savings for that car.
Pro mileage was the only one that gave me 5,000 extra value to cover, yet still cheaper, a lot less.
Turn up!
These two are what we call the wiring ballasts that are typically found in older E39s, in which the owners want to convert the pre-facelift tail lamps to the facelift design. Okay, because the E39 facelift, as we know, introduced the LED tail light strips here. Okay, but the pre-facelift cars, they had bulb tail lights. So the voltage of the LED strips and the bulbs are different. Okay, so the cars, their original wiring for cars with the bulb versus the cars with the LED would have sent different voltage to the lights, and therefore for those who wanted to convert, they needed these ballasts to change the voltage, right, that goes from the car wiring and to the tail light. So this being a facelift car, which should have come with the facelift taillights, should not actually be needing these ballasts. So quite a mystery as to why that's the case. All right, and tracing the wiring here, this is the wire, and you can see this whole area here is a bit of a mess. The amount of cut and join here, you see these are the heat shrink tubes that they use to connect the wire. All right, and I'll show you on the other side as well. Similarly, a lot of cut and joining happening here. This loom here is what came from the ballast. This is the original wiring that came from the car's body. And that's not the full extent of issues that I'm facing with the tail lights, because as you can see here from the difference in the coloring here, it's quite obvious that these tail lights leak water. All right, and they need to be replaced, and I have bought a pair of used original tail lights that are from an M54 E39. Right, as you can see here, it has this hella marking at the edge of the tail light, which actually the ones that came with the car does not have. Okay, so what I believe is that these tail lights would have been replaced somewhere along the line by one of the previous owners. This is the correct clip that goes into the wiring, but you see here there's joining here even for the original wiring. From what I can work out here, okay, this is the loom of wiring that came up from the ballast. Okay, and the only thing that is joined is this wire going from the car's body going into here and coming back out through this connector. Let me just pull this out. Okay, the rest of this, as far as I can see, this is from the car's original wiring. This has to be the wiring for the tail light, okay, because everything else does not go through the ballast. Okay, so this is all this. Okay, so this one, there has been some cutting and joining. Same with this here, there has been some cutting and joining, but everything else, like the rest of this tree, connects from the car's wiring. Okay, now I come to this side and inspect. Now this is a bit more messy. This is, once again, this is the loom from the wire from the ballast, and you can see the in and out. There are only two wires come in and out. Okay, and I believe this has to be the tail light, goes to the tail light. And let me just pull this connector out. Okay, now you can see here there is some cutting and joining here involved. This brown line here, okay, this I believe is the grounding wiring. Okay, this red line here traces its way. Alright, so there you have it. This is another cutting and joining here. This one goes into this brown wiring, and what I can see, so this is, so it goes into this box. Alright, and this box, the wires from this box, okay, come out from here. Okay, this one goes inside here somewhere, but these two, okay, end up here and go down through that drain hole. And this, I believe, is the wiring that goes to the aftermarket reverse sensors. So these are not the original sensors from BMW. This car did not come from the factory with reverse sensors. So it was installed once again aftermarket by a previous owner. So this, I believe, has to be the reverse light. Okay, this is the reverse light. So this taps the reverse light signal to go into this box. All right, and the black wire here, okay, is connects to the earth, to the ground wire, and goes to the negative terminal of the battery. There is a cut and join here with the reverse light, but otherwise nothing is touched. This one here, the earth, the grounding has been cut and joined, and bought this pair of original tail lights, which also comes with its own connector. Okay, and I learned, right, from studying this book that the left and right tail lights, okay, uses different color codes to denote the light. So for example, the left signal versus the right signal uses a totally different wiring color. The only constant color is brown. Brown is the grounding wire that goes to the negative terminal of the battery, but all the other things, the signal light, the fog light, reverse light, they all use different colors between left and right. See this one here, this gray and purple color, this is for the tail light, but over here it's gray and white for the left side. So the other puzzling thing about this wiring here, okay, is that this ballast set, this was an original accessory that Hella, the supplier of the tail lights, once sold for owners, okay, to retrofit. But you see, the thing is that these ballasts were designed for the single Wanos E39s in mind. The installation actually is a lot less messy than this if you do it in a single Wanos E39. Basically, what you would have needed in those older cars is that you take the original wiring plug, which is a completely different design from what is here. There's a plug to connect it, go to the ballast, and then there's another plug connector that you snap into the tail lights. Okay, so by right, it is a very straightforward, very clean, nowhere near as messy as this. And in any case, for an M54 engine E39 like mine, it shouldn't even need these two ballasts in the first place. So what I'm going to do now is I want to install these tail lights into the car, but I'll want to undo this rojak wiring before I proceed. And having studied it closely, I think it will be a simple task of disconnecting this wire from the ballast and connecting it straight back to the car's wiring. I shall also remove the tail light assembly because I've already unplugged the socket, so it'll be a simple matter of undoing this. Basically, there are 4 nuts to undo, and it is a very similar setup to what I was familiar with earlier from the Wajah. So that's it, you just push the lights out from inside. Okay, so these are the 2 tail lights. Well, these were the ones that came with the car, and this ones, you can see these original ones, the LED strips look much finer than this one. Now let's turn you guys around and bring you here. Now this is the seal to prevent water entering, and this one obviously somebody from beforehand has added this, and there's a difference in the wiring. This part here has one wire that goes out like this. This one has two. And what I learned is that this design where you have two wires, these were sold together with the ballast as a complete retrofit kit by Hella, who was the original equipment supplier of taillights for the E39, for pre-facelift E39 owners to retrofit LED taillights into their cars. I've known about the existence of this kit for a long time, but it is only now that I learned the internal wiring of these retrofit taillights are different than that of the factory taillights. So here's the tip when you're shopping for E39 LED taillights. When you see one wire coming up from here, this is an original factory facelifted taillight. If you see two wires coming up from here, it means that this taillight was made for the purpose of retrofitting into a pre-facelift E39. The E39 had, well, in a way, three generations. There were the M52 single one-offs, M52 double one-offs, and the final batch M54 double one-offs. So each of these three generations had significant technical changes underneath, wiring changes as well. A lot of parts are non-interchangeable. Okay, of course, between the M52 TU and M54, there's a greater level of interchangeability, but basically a lot of parts between the three generations are unique to each other. So what is this piece here doing now? This blue foam here is obviously not original. You can see the roughness of the cut. It was obviously added on, perhaps to give better sealing. Now, why is this so dirty, right? So when there's rain, right, when there's water flowing, water actually flows in through here and flows off through the side. Okay, let me just bring you back to the car's body. So you can see here's the drain channel. As water comes down, it flows inside behind the lights and it comes down here. So that's why that piece of foam is very important. It is supposed to seal the lighting unit from leaking water. And that's why you can see inside this area is always rather dirty, because as the rainwater brings the dirt through here and it just sticks inside here. For those of you who are very anal, you may want to take your taillights out and clean this area every once in a while. Now this project has also been a good opportunity for me to clean up the inside of this area. Just give it a nice wipe. Just now when I took this out, it was all, you know, with leaves la, mud la, dirt la, all that very unsightly view. Now you notice from this angle, you notice that there's a bit of a depression here. Okay, now there is a significance to this. Okay, oh, this looks like a bit of a dent. Okay, now there's a significance to this. You see, with the M54 cars, this part of the bodywork is actually different from the M52 cars. So if you're driving a single one-off E39 and you want to transplant the facelift tail lamps in here, it actually doesn't fit perfectly. There will be a greater gap here because there's this added depression here that is meant to take a slightly different curvature of this seal. Okay, so those of you guys who are thinking of installing facelifted E39 tail lights onto the body of a 96 or 97 or 98 E39, you actually need to do a bit of bodywork hammering here so that the lights will fit perfectly into this slot. Okay, so as you can see, the right side, the ballast that's connected to the right tail light, I've removed it. Okay, and over here, okay, I've connected back the body wiring to go straight to the LED lamp slot. So now I'm going to plug this into the connector, and it's the moment of truth. Okay, so currently the left side is still operating on the tail lights that came with the car, and I've swapped the right side. So let me just show you the left side first. All right, that's the signal lamp, and you can see here's the illumination of the tail lights. Okay, so let me just come over to this side and show you the the rear the right side. Okay, I'll deactivate the signal lights, the fog lights first. Okay, so this is the tail light that came with the car, and I'm coming over here. This is the one that is now installed. It's not obvious on the camera, but in person I can see that the illumination of this actually looks finer than this one. Okay, but the difference is actually quite minute. So yeah, definitely this is a fully working tail light too. It's just that it's letting a bit of water, so I'm just taking it out. The outgoing sets that I've just removed, they are open for sale. I'm going to put that up on Facebook so you guys can go and find it. So yep guys, check it out, new tail lights as installed. Alright, so bringing this car back to its original appearance. Over here I've got the set that I took out, still fully working. It's just that it does let a bit of water into it, so I'm letting it go at a very cheap price. Together with these, you will need to route your wiring through this two wiring ballasts. I'm going to be researching on the internet, on Facebook, to come up with a reasonable price, and I'll put this whole lump sum here for sale. So here you have it guys, my 525 here got a set of refreshed tail lights. So the next thing to do with this car from a cosmetic standpoint would be, well, obviously the paintwork. The headlights is also in bad need of a refresh, plus some minor interior bits. That is all to come, well, perhaps after lockdown, I guess. So some of the footages that you see in this video are taken from E39 source. They had a great video showing how you can transform your pre-facelift E39 tail lights to the facelifted design using the Hella retrofit kit. E39 source is a US based channel. They are a great, highly recommended resource for E39 owners anywhere in the world to go check them out and learn more about your cars.
Marvelous. Artificial intelligence skin.